Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TJ Cullinane. I'm with the Derry Heritage Commission, and it is truly an honor and a privilege to welcome you all here today. When I look around the room and I see the many decades of public service that this crowd represents, truly, you have all earned the title of living treasure. And it's a pleasure to have you here today. And how about a round of applause for our honorees today? Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, what a program we have for you today. Action-packed, action-packed. So, this is what's going to happen after I get done gabbing, and you can see that the Derry Public Library table over here is already giving me the shh sign. Please, let me get through this, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to do is we'll have lunch catered to us by the Pinkerton Astro Cafe. So for the past 10 Saturdays, it's been raining. We have a beautiful day today. And where are the Pinkerton Astros? They're in the kitchen, slaving away for your benefit. And to put, oh, yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. They have been working hard for us. And I told Ed Bailey down there by the cookies, hands off. But when I passed by that brownie tray, there was about 10 missing. Could somebody please keep your eye on Ed down there? Terrible man, terrible. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the program today, we're going to start with dinner. And while we're having dinner, we're going to be serenaded by more Pinkerton ladies. The Pinkerton Chorus have picked out some lovely selections that they're going to honor us with today. When dinner is over, we're going to present our certificates to our awardees. We have a lot of certificates, and while we're doing that, we'll learn about the many organizations that are represented here today that have made Derry such a wonderful place to live and to raise a family. Some administrative notes, ladies and gentlemen. The emergency exits are right where you came through, and there's another one right over here. The men's and ladies' room out the door and to the left. We do have emergency Geritol here at the podium if there is a need for it. That Margie Ives, she thinks of everything. We have the emergency Geritol. Now, if there is a stiffer restorative needed, we also have this. Rick Holmes gave me this lovely scotch on his last trip. All right, we already have some takers up here. Easy. Oh, that's Phyllis's Castle Orchestra. No wonder we have all the rowdy people up here. That's where Phyllis is sitting. This came from a lovely distillery in the Outer Hebrides. If you need to look more information in the Outer Hebrides, you can look it up in the encyclopedia under Hebrides. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. A lovely vintage if you need it. Emergency only. Emergency only. Very good. Okay. Listen, we could not put together a program like this without some outstanding individuals who gave us a lot of help. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge Sheila Bodenrader. Sheila is not here with us. This is what happened. Sheila was all set. She was looking forward so much to being with us today. And then the granddaughter had the dance recital. The granddaughter went up to Sheila, looked up at her with her puppy eyes and said, "You will be at the recital, won't you, Nana?" Sheila couldn't resist. She took the bait, and she is down in Lowell looking at the dance recital. Another one who is not here with us but has worked so hard is Denise Neal. Denise Neal made all of the party favors that we see today. She worked so hard on those. Denise just went under back surgery. All that disco dancing she did in the 1970s finally caught up with her, ladies and gentlemen. But I do think that she's going to be popping in with us today. She did drop off the party favors, and I do think she's going to try to make it today. Margie Ives, of course, is over there chatting up the crowd. The scintillating and effervescent Margie Ives. Where would we be without her? I do want to warn you, though, ladies and gentlemen, Margie did make the coffee. She learned how to make coffee from an Army drill sergeant, so it's a little strong. We went down to the gas station, but they assured us that the viscosity of the coffee is suitable for human consumption. There are no worries there. Thank you very much, Margie, who has been here since 10 o'clock this morning. She supervised all the Boy Scouts. That's right, Troop 405 put up the chairs and the tables for us this morning. Roger Constant, is Roger here? Oh, there he is. He was in a suit and tie. I didn't recognize him. Roger was here, and Roger has just been instrumental in making sure our support from Pinkerton came over, both the Astro Cafe and the lovely ladies who will serenade us here momentarily. Our sponsors today are the Derry Heritage Commission, and I believe the chairperson of the Derry Heritage Commission is yes, she is, Karen Blanford Anderson, looking distinguished in red back there, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, First Parish Church, who is hosting the event today. Surprisingly enough, when I walked in, the ceiling did not fall down upon me. An unwashed heathen like myself, so far so good. Hopefully the lightning clouds will not gather momentarily. And of course, the town of Derry is with us. In addition to the Scouts, Beverly Ferrante, Jay Gerard, Michelle Guerin, who made our programs. There were so many program changes that I would have strangled somebody, but Michelle, who is the secretary here, just smiled and made a correction. She was on her way to vacation, and we gave her about 15 changes, and she just rolled with the punches. Thank you, Michelle, and I hope you're enjoying your vacation. Mike Gibbons made those mugs. Aren't those mugs beautiful? They look like birch trees. They're very, very, very nice. And everyone is a little bit unique. You won't find two of the same. Our sound man today, and the man who is going to present some historic video later on, Paul Lindemann, is in the back there in the plaid shirt, looking distinguished. Thank you, Mr. Lindemann, for providing our sound. The videos that we're going to see a little bit later at the conclusion there, this might be a world premiere. Not too many public, well, it's going to be a world premiere for today. That's what it's going to be. So some great videos that came all the way over from our ancestors in Northern Ireland. We're going to see those later. Pinkerton Academy, of course, Jamie Robinson, and then our lovely centerpieces here were made by the Springlook Farm Garden Club there where Chicarians used to be. So lovely, they came out very, very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, if you start snoozing during my speech, chances are you'll be filmed by Owen Provencher back there from Derry Cablevision. So if you're feeling yourself drowsy, stand up, or you will make the front page there with Owen in the cable. So make sure that everybody stays awake and alert, and you are all looking good. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. Ladies and gentlemen, before I send you to lunch, this is an event from the Derry 300. Nutfield is 300 years old. 300 years old. So this is an event, part of that. When you came in, you might have passed these blue pamphlets. Grab one on the way out. They'll tell you what's coming up. Our next event is next Saturday in Derryfield, where they're going to have Old Home Day. So there's going to be some historic reenactors, some wonderful history. A little later on in June, on the 15th, there will be a Civil War encampment right here on the front lawn. June 15th from 10 to 4. We're going to have a cannon. We're going to have musketry. It's going to be wonderful. All righty, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm getting the shushing motions from the Derry Public Library table. The friends are very hungry. They want to eat. So let's go ahead and start eating. Now on our buffet here, we're going to be able to serve from both sides. So when I send your table up, you can go on both sides, grab a plate. You have real silverware there, and we want that back. Rick Holmes, did you hear me? Do not swipe the silverware, please. That belongs to the church. So we'll be able to serve on both sides. And why don't we go ahead, we'll go with this table, and this table. If you would go ahead and start. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and start the passing out the certificates. And before we do, I was going to invite Ms. Karen Blanford Anderson, the chairperson of the Heritage Commission, just to say a few words. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, TJ. Thanks, everybody, for being here. When we were approached to do this again at the Living Treasures, the Heritage Commission jumped right on board. This is such an awesome occasion for us to recognize all the people who over the years have brought Derry really to the forefront. The support you've brought, the things you've done for the town, and as well as the community at large. We're so thrilled to be here. And I want to thank every one of you personally for doing this and participating over the years. And For TJ for putting on a great show, and again, thank you so much for the service you've done over the years. Appreciate it.
All right, official consulting will take place here. I'll be with you in just 1 second. All right, come on. Alrighty, folks, we're going to get started with the award presentations. And this is how it'll work. I will call out your name, and I would ask you to stand and take a bow or curtsy as appropriate. And one of our lovely runners will come over. The Wheel of Fortune has Vanna White. We are fortunate to have Jen, Jamie, and Karen as our Vanna Whites. We have 3 Vanna Whites. They will give you a hug if you're not suspecting it, so just be ready for that, okay? So what'll happen again is when I call your name, just stand up, and then one of our lovely ladies will be down there to present you with your award. And I hope you guys filled up on the brownies and coffee, because there's going to be a lot of applause, a whole lot of clapping going on. All righty, let's get things started, shall we? You know, ladies and gentlemen, it was back in 1988 that a group of concerned citizens saw a need among our seniors and disabled residents for practical assistance and support that would enable them to stay in their homes and live in safety and dignity as long as possible. That group, of course, is the Community Caregivers of Greater Derry, and our first 2 awardees represent that organization. And I would ask Earl Bailey and Richard Barterton to please stand. I think Earl's down there. And Richard, where are you? Whoop. Okay, where's Richard? Richard hiding? Oh, there he is. How could we miss Richard? All righty. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The mission of the Upper Room is to strengthen individuals and families and provide them with education, services, and resources needed to lead healthy and self-sufficient lives. People helping people. And our next awardee represents that fine, fine organization. Her name is Marsha Briggs. Marsha, where are you? Yes, Marsha's over here, a very shy and retiring woman who wanted that sustained applause. That trick always works. There she is. All right, very good. We have a special organization, ladies and gentlemen. It's called the SAC, the Senior Advisory Committee. They work very, very closely with the Derry Police Department, and their mission, of course, is to help ensure that our seniors are safe and well taken care of. And representing the SAC is Dolores Brusky. Dolores, where are you? There she is. Okay. You are probably all relieved that a petrochemical plant has not been erected in your neighborhood, and no horses are being taken to the glue factory in your neighborhood. And for that, you can thank the Zoning Board of Adjustment that grants variances and exceptions to zoning laws and regulations. Representing the Zoning Board today is Donald Burgess. Donald. Jen has a clipped wing, but she is still giving out hugs. What a woman. What a woman. Our next awardee is from the Community Caregivers, and his name is Boyd Cameron. Boyd, where are you? There he is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful community center in town dedicated to providing a meeting space to nonprofits, clubs, community groups, teams, and organizations. They have sponsored over 150 organizations. Also a good place to have a wedding or a bridal shower. If you like my necktie, I got it at the Marion Garish Community Center. That's right. And representing the Marion Garish Community Center today is Janet Conroy. Janet, where are you? There she is. The community caregivers are in here in strength this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And our next honoree is Daniel Cordemanch. Daniel? There he is. Very nice. Good to see you, sir. We have a group in town that works very closely with the highway department, the school department, the fire and the police departments, making sure that we fight the scourge of speeding and ensuring all of our highways and byways stay safe. I am talking, of course, of the Highway Safety Committee, and representing that organization is Mr. Walter Deo. Mr. Walter, where are you? There he is. You know, Walter reminded me that today is Armed Forces Day, the day we honor all of our veterans who served in the armed forces. How about a round of applause for all the veterans today? Hey, veterans, where are you? We know you're out there. Raise your hand. Raise your hand, veterans. All right. Very good. We saw Rick Holmes there raising Cain. That's what he does all the time. Okay. Next up, we have the Derry Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Ladies and gentlemen, almost 40% of the households that participate in the voucher program managed by this organization are 62 or older, and over 54% of those folks are on disability. So this organization plays a very key role in our town, and representing the Senior Advisory Committee is the Derry Housing and Redevelopment Authority is Mr. Robert Donazzi. Robert, are you here today? There he is. All right, we have a past state representative and a member of the Senior Advisory Committee. His name is Pat Dowling. Pat? Oh, Pat, there she is. That's Patricia Dowling, ladies and gentlemen. There she is. Thank you so much. The politicians are here in force tonight, and another former member of the state representative is Mr. Bob Fesh. Bob, please take a stand. All right. Okay. And of course, Dick doesn't go anywhere without the lovely company of Ms. Rosemary Fesh, who is a member of our Heritage Commission. Geez, I want a certificate so Karen will give me a kiss. Any chance? Huh? Okay, no chance. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been brought to my attention that we skipped over Mr. Dick Benson. Dick, where are you? All right, there he is, there he is. Karen is coming your way, Mr. Benson. Very good, sir. All righty, up next is another community caregiver, Flo Fleming. Where are you, Flo? Oh, she's right in front of me. There she is. Our next organization is a nonprofit that promotes interest in home and garden and aids in the protection of native plants, trees, and wildlife to further civic beautification. Has everybody seen the recently installed fountain down in McGregor Park? Beautiful fountain. Once it was overflowing with water, now it's overflowing with flowers, and for that we can thank the Derry Garden Club, and representing them is Ms. Blanche Garone. There she is. Oh, I think we have to do more clapping than that if you don't want to be put in custody by you-know-who. Come on, come on. All righty, we have a member of the Highway Safety Committee being honored today, and his name is Ron Goldwaith. Ron, where are you? There he is. All right. Folks, we here in Derry are very, very lucky to have this next organization. They're a nonprofit founded in 1996, and they're committed to providing safe habits for all youth and increasing the awareness of high-risk behaviors. And they do everything they can to encourage healthy choices and fostering community alliances. They are the Community Alliance for Teen Safety, CATS. And with us today is Mr. Howard Hedgard from that organization. There he is. All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, this next gentleman needs no introduction. As a matter of fact, back in 2005, when we had the first annual community, our Living Treasures organization, this man was the MC. And I would present to you our community and our town historian emeritus, Mr. Richard Holmes. Ladies and gentlemen, when friends and neighbors come out of town and I get visited by their relatives, I make a beeline for the Derry Public Library. I get those museum passes, and if there's any good kids programs going on, and there usually are, I bring those kids over to that Derry Public Library, and all of those programs and everything that we enjoy about our library are helped and fostered by the friends of the Derry Public Library. And we have a big rowdy gang of them over here in the corner table here. I don't know if you've heard them or not. All that shushing they do in the library, they just want to cut loose today. It's been terrible. They've been out of control. They've been at the flask, too. I've been checking. This is not as full as it was when I first brought it in. And I saw Dee Dee up here a little earlier. Oh, yes. They're cutting loose. But we first, a member of the Friends of the Derry Public Library and a past library trustee is Phyllis Howard. Phyllis, please stand. There she is. Phyllis brought a whole army of supporters with her. I think, how many people are in that table? 9 people down there? Wow, what a turnout. Yes, the Howards. They were the last ones in the chow line, and there was no violence visited upon your lovely MC today. Thank you for your understanding, Howard family. Okay. Oh, my goodness. This next person is the one who has been inflicting all of that coffee on us. Her favorite saying is, "Jeepers cats." And sometimes when she gets flustered, she says, "Oh, phooey." I am talking about the scintillating and effervescent Miss Margie Ives, ladies and gentlemen. Oh dear, I'm in trouble. I'm going to be paying for that one. And she does hurt when she gives you a whack. And Margie, of course, is being honored today for all of her work with the Conservation Commission And the conservation does so much good for the stewardship of our green spaces and protecting all of our natural resources in town. So we thank Margie very, very much. Okay, I have been gently reprimanded that Beth Hunter, who is with us this afternoon, has not been called out. Beth, where are you? Where are you hiding? Beth Hunter, right in front of us. Oh my goodness. Here she is. Oh, thank you for that extra big hug for Beth. That's very good, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, this next woman needs no introduction. During the gala ball that we had just a few weeks ago, this woman swept me off my feet. You wouldn't believe her talents in waltzing. My goodness. She got a little handsy, but we worked through that. There are so many organizations that she belongs to, I could not list them on this one paper. She did tell me, however, if I did not pronounce her name correctly, she would put impeachment proceedings against me to impeach me as the MC of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Miss Phyllis Katz. Chorus, Phyllis! Phyllis, that was supposed to be our little secret. Okay. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, the Friends of the Public Library are here in strength, and it is my pleasure to introduce both Fred and Peg Kinsella. Fred and Peg. Our next power couple from the Friends of the Library are Dee Dee and Paul Loeffler. Dee Dee and Paul, please take a stand, please. Love to see you. The community caregivers are well represented this afternoon, and should they, so they should. And our next awardee is Margaret Mackey-Cincino. Is she here, Margaret? There she is, Margaret. All right. Another member that works closely with Margaret is Paul Magnin. Paul, where are you? There he is. Very good. All righty, we're back to the library, folks. You know the Marcotts and the Boston Bruins. Now meet the Marcotts from the Derry Library. We have Maureen and Pete with us this afternoon. Very good. The next organization we're going to talk about is a powerhouse. They are open to everybody, every race, creed, and culture. And on the local level, they try to help everybody in the community area. They try to help the Boys Club. They try to help the Make-A-Wish, No Place Like Home, the Upper Room, the Greater Derry Humane Society. They try to help everybody, folks. Of course, you know I'm talking about the Derry Village Rotary. And with us this afternoon is Mr. John Moody from that organization. There he is. John, no worry, Karen won't give you a hug, but I will after this, immediately afterwards. Thank you. And I just want to let you know the deodorant is holding up, so there's no worries there. We're okay. All righty, now with that sordid bit of business over, we're on to our next awardee. She's a community caregiver, and her name is Ms. Georgia Nugent. Georgia. There she is. All right. Georgia, we're going to have to give you a special certificate. There was a mix-up at the printer. My apologies, ma'am. You will be taken care of. I will see you immediately after this, and we're going to square you away. My apologies, ma'am. Let's hear it for Georgia. Georgia, please don't be alarmed, because our next awardee, John O'Connor, has his cane, and he will beat me verbally about the side and the face for forgetting about you. Mr. John O'Connor, where are you, sir? There he is. John, of course, is on our planning board and is a state rep. Always a pleasure, sir. Where are the O's? No O's. John, we're going to have to give you the alibi. Uh-oh. Okay, bring it over to John. There we go. Fair enough, fair enough.
One for everybody.
Okay. All righty. How about we are very privileged to have with Ms. Marge Palmer with us this afternoon. I see Marge over there in the corner. Is there a certificate for Marge? Yes, no, no, yes. Uh-oh. Marge, we're not supposed to say words like that in public. I know you were trying to. Okay. Very good. Uh-oh. Here comes Margie. I'm in big trouble now.
I just want to thank the people for doing the certificates. Michelle did a good job. We obviously missed some, and we didn't mean to, but you will get the certificate right away this week.
All right. Thank you, Margie, for bailing me out. You're a great and glorious woman. All righty. Who do we have next? All right. I think we're good. Rod and Nancy Pierce, community caregivers, are you with us this afternoon? Yes, they are, in force. And guess what? We have certificates. We have certificates. We have one certificate. Hey, who's it for? Rod. All right, Rod, you're going to have to share with Nancy. Very good. See, you don't have to buy 2 frames just yet. All righty, how we doing? We're doing okay. Is Jim Poirier around? Yes, and he has a certificate. Where's Jim? Community caregivers in the house. All right. Very good. All right, we're very, very fortunate to have some great politicians who've been representing us and fighting for Derry in the State House up in Concord. And one of those gentlemen is Mr. John Potacek. John, are you here today? There he is. All right. I was speaking with John earlier. He is a Vietnam veteran of the Air Force, and we both suffered through the miserable Grafenwehr training camp in Germany. If it's not raining, it's snowing. Yes. Very good, sir. All righty, next up, community caregiver Ruth Provençal. Ruth, where are you? There she is. She has sat across from Phyllis and has lived to tell the tale. Holy cow. Very good. Okay, next up is another member of the Senior Advisory Committee. Her name is Kathy Rouleau. Kathy, where are you? There she is. Another member of the Senior Advisory Committee is Fran Savard. Fran, where are you? All right. Next up is another friend of the Derry Public Library, Sally Spencer. Sally, not here today. Let's give her a round of applause anyway, Sally Spencer. Alrighty, there's a wise guy on TV by the name of John Stewart. He is not with us this afternoon, but we do have the legitimate, cool John Stewart, who has worked at the Parks and Recreation and the Friendship Center. John Stewart, where are you? Oh, neither John Stewart is here, but let's give John and John a nice round of applause anyway. All right. Folks, it's a relatively new organization in town, and they have been doing some outstanding work that's near and dear to my heart and the hearts of all the veterans in town. It was just started in 2016, but they have been doing some amazing things for our veterans in town. It's the Derry's Veterans Assistance Fund, and representing this afternoon is Mr. Bill Stout. Bill, are you around here? Oh, right in front of me. Okay, folks, the Community Caregivers, again, a wonderful organization here in Forest, and we are happy to honor Eileen Riley Thatcher. Eileen, are you here with us this afternoon? Let's give Eileen a round of applause anyway. Yes, Eileen. Folks, climate change is big in everybody's minds. It's big in the nation. It's a very, very serious problem. And we have an organization in town that's exploring ways to achieve cost-effective solutions for reduced energy and water use. They are the Net Zero Task Force. And with us today is Miss Mary Till, representing that organization. Mary, you worked there? Oh, there's Mary. Alrighty, folks. Last but not least, another member of our Community Caregivers organization, Mr. Bill Whaler. Bill, where are you? There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, just think of all those organizations and all the good they do and all the people who have worked so hard to make those organizations thrive, and in doing so, making our community thrive. Let's have another round of applause for all of our awardees today. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and we apologize to everybody who didn't get their certificate, but Margie is good to her word, and we will make that problem, we will fix that right away, and thank you very much for your patience and forbearance. All right, folks, we're almost there. We're almost home free, but before we let you loose today, we're going to watch a couple of wonderful videos. Last summer, we had a film crew come over from the north of Ireland. So our origins here in Derry, in Londonderry, are in Ireland. And while we're having our 300th anniversary in this country, over in Derry and Londonderry in Northern Ireland, they're having their 400th anniversary. So they are very, very proud of their heritage, and they're very, very proud of the way that we preserve the heritage over here in our part of the world. So we're going to have Paul Lindemann, who was instrumental in making those videos happen. He's going to show us a couple of videos. We have one that's 5 minutes and one that's 7 minutes. One of the videos was shot right here in the cemetery, and there is a guy who is an expert on the cemetery. What do you see this guy? Matinee idol, good looks, and he is so wicked smart. Where do you see this guy? You're going to love him. And no, it's not me, Phyllis. Come on. Do you think I would be up here and brag about myself? Yes, you're absolutely correct. Excuse me. Alrighty. All right, without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and run the video. Paul, Mr. Lindemann.
October in the Bann Valley in the north of Ireland in 1718. And as the tree-lined rivers and estuaries started to adopt an autumnal hue, many of the Presbyterian congregations in County Londonderry decided to leave behind persecution and bad harvests and sail these waters towards a new life 3,000 miles away. This was a journey that could take between 3 and 6 months as their sailing ships creaked and groaned, lambasted by heavy seas, cruel winds and biting cold, a physical and mental challenge that was almost unimaginable in its ferocity. Led by the Reverend James MacGregor of Ahadui, the occupants of the ships were farmers, carpenters, weavers, and many of them former soldiers. These fighters had been at the siege of Derry in 1689, and MacGregor, aged only 12 years old, was said to have fired the cannon that signified the blockade erected by the forces loyal to the Catholic King James had been broken and the starvation of the city ended. But it's the story of Peter Cochrane, another veteran of the siege, also from Achadui, that's even more captivating. Aged 92, he accompanied MacGregor on that voyage and lived to tell the tale here in what was named Derry, New Hampshire.
Just imagine the grit and determination, the perseverance of an early settler like Peter Cochrane, who embarked on his overseas journey at the age of 92 and lived for additional 4 years here in the New World, clearing a home in the forest and surviving the attacks of the Yabanaki tribe, a fierce group of Indians who lived in Maine. It's absolutely remarkable, and it's inspiring, and it's hoped that people today, so preoccupied with their own troubles, if they would only look back into their own history and see that what they're contending with today pales into comparison with the trials and tribulations of the first settlers.
So establishing settlements such as Derry and Londonderry, New Hampshire and Belfast, Maine didn't come without fierce resistance. The immigrant ships were originally destined for Connecticut, but they needed to stop in Boston after a harrowing journey. Here, they encountered sticks and stones from locals who labelled them as Irish. But after meeting land agent Robert Temple, they were convinced to sail north to Maine and settle his lands along the Kennebec River. It was here at Merry Meeting Bay that the McFadden family from Garva, County Londonderry, established their new homestead in dense woodland. They named it Somerset, after their home in Northern Ireland of the same name on the banks of the River Bann. Today in Maine, this is the site of an archaeological dig by the McFadden descendants to uncover artefacts from the time. A tobacco pipe, probably belonging to the settler Andrew McFadden, was found almost intact and may tell the tale of a rapid escape from Indian attack.
It really kind of stopped me in my tracks, because for that moment I envisioned my 7th great-grandfather 300 years ago setting it down, possibly in haste, knowing that the Indians were coming down the river. But then for me, 300 years later, to dig it up and be the first person to pick it up after he had set it down. And that not only was emotional for me, I think everyone on our crew, it just kind of stopped everybody when they made, when they put that thought in their own heads. It's like, yeah, how bizarre to have the same family pick it up 300 years later.
The immigrants brought specific skills with them that led to the industrial development of these lands in a mirror image of what happened back in Northern Ireland. Woodworking expertise led to shipbuilding in Belfast, Maine, where hundreds of schooners and sailing ships were constructed in the 19th and 20th centuries, while in Belfast, Northern Ireland, the shipyard had become world famous for constructing vessels such as the Titanic. Londonderry and Derry, New Hampshire developed a national reputation for their linen and shirt manufacture, while Londonderry, Northern Ireland and its hinterlands were weaving linen on a massive scale and exporting it to all corners of the world.
The weaving of linen, particularly by women, was particularly important, both here in Ulster and on the frontier, and we call it the frontier in New England. It was a skill that they were used to practicing. It was a very sophisticated skill. It required precision, it required a fine touch, and that was taken with them to America and practiced there. And initially, of course, this was what we call a cottage industry, so people would have had a loom in one room in their house, and so also in New Hampshire. And the same with spinning. They took the spinning wheels with them. And the spinning wheels here had been very much advanced by the Huguenots, who brought new technology with them into Ulster, and that was then transferred to New Hampshire with the migrants.
The Ulster American Folk Park near Omagh, County Tyrone, is dedicated to celebrating the emigration from the north of Ireland to the United States down the centuries. Post-famine exodus of the Catholic Irish in New York, Boston and the Carolinas in the 1850s is the best known. What is much less publicised is the journey more than 100 years beforehand of the Scots-Irish. Their descendants became some of the best-known names in American history, with no fewer than 20 US presidents tracing their ancestry to the north of Ireland. Our story ends here at Forest Hill Cemetery in Derry, New Hampshire, where the Reverend James McGregor and his wife Mary Ann are buried, far away from where the story began at Achadooey, County Londonderry in Northern Ireland. From the northwest coast of Ireland, the name of Londonderry was carried across the Atlantic by Scots-Irish pioneers who settled in New Hampshire, Vermont, Nova Scotia and Maine. The story begins in the walled city of Londonderry, Northern Ireland, on its historic ramparts, where during the 1689 siege of the city, a boy called James McGregor is said to have fired the cannon which signified that the blockade was broken and starvation of the city ended. Nearly 30 years later, it was the Reverend James McGregor that led the first Presbyterian migrants on a 3,000-mile sea journey to America, following the Bann upriver from Coleraine and then out to the Atlantic. Many of those on board had fought in the siege. Landing in Boston, they would then travel onwards to New Hampshire, where they took the territory of Nutfield, building new settlements and chartering a large town they named Londonderry, and later another town, Derry.
We're here at the grave of the founder of Derry, the Reverend James McGregor. Buried here too is his wife, Mary Ann Cargill. Right next to James is the grave of his son, the Reverend David McGregor. One thing that we hope comes about during the 300th observation of the founding of our town is that more attention will be paid to Mary Ann and the efforts of all of the women who came with the first settlers.
These women's weaving skills were clearly in the DNA of the settlers as they built a national reputation for their product. So it's probably no surprise that back in Londonderry, Northern Ireland, a mirror image was built over the centuries, with the women of the city excelling in the quality manufacture of linen worldwide.
The Ulster Scots brought with them the knowledge of taking the flax and making it into linen products. And they were known for the finest quality linen in this area. Many important people, such as George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, were said to wear Londonderry linen shirts.
It was almost a part of their DNA. And so when they went to America, they took those skills with them. Naturally, the landscape wasn't that different. And soon Londonderry, New Hampshire was as prized for linen as linen was here. So much so, it was the first trademarked product in America. And Washington and Jefferson were delighted to wear clothing of Londonderry linen. They boasted about it almost. So it was a very fine product.
Londonderry, Northern Ireland is many times bigger than its smaller relative in New Hampshire. But in the adopted home of James McGregor from Achadooey, Northern Ireland, there's an enthusiasm for the heritage, history and familial links that were the result of that migration 300 years ago.
A lot of people who live right here know the name of the town is Derry, or they know the name of the town is Londonderry. They have that aha moment, even if they've lived here 30 years. That's why it's called Londonderry, because of Northern Ireland.
We're sitting in the 1774 old meeting house in Sandown, New Hampshire. We're about 5 or 6 miles from Reverend McGregor's church meeting house in East Derry, but we've gone back way in time. The interior of this meeting house is basically unaltered from when it was built, 1774, only 5 years after the meeting house at First Parish was built. And it may have been the same craftsmen involved in both of them. They were not that far apart. And you can really see the kind of life that they led, since the meeting house would have been fundamental to their whole life cycle.
That life cycle began here on the River Bann in County Londonderry 300 years ago, as the sailing ships packed with passengers headed out to sea towards their New World destinations. The skills they brought with them from their homeland in Northern Ireland would leave an indelible mark on life in the United States for centuries to come.
All right, well, thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed those video productions and that wonderful, handsome gentleman who brought us to the cemetery. Yes. Hey, folks, I would just like to acknowledge some of the folks who have been working in the background there, Liz and Eileen and Jen and Jamie, who have been doing so much. They've been here since first thing in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, to set it up and make sure that we had a wonderful afternoon, and they certainly succeeded, and we thank them so much. Thank you. Alrighty, folks. Hey, those centerpieces are for yours to take home. Before you take them home, you have to arm wrestle these guys over here, though. No, but please decide at the table who would like to take home the centerpiece. And we thank you very, very much for coming and spending your afternoon with us. And you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen.